For August 12, 2026, the Senate President Sherwin Gatchalian opened the session at exactly 10 a.m. on August 12, 2026 with 19 senators present, constituting a quorum for the 15th day of the impeachment trial. For administrative matters, the presiding officer confirmed that the respondent already submitted the copies of the documents to the clerk of court last night, and the clerk of court shall provide copies to the senator judges, and further directed the submission of the remaining pre-marked documents covering 2022 and the first 3 quarters of 2023 for both the Office of the Vice President and Department of Education. During the middle of the cross-examination, Respondent's counsel, Attorney Christine R. Ferrer, manifested that the opposing counsel's making side remarks usually captured by the media should not be allowed by the court, as respect should be given by lawyers to fellow lawyers. After Attorney Kapunan counter-manifested that she already withdrew her comment from the records and made an undertaking to behave, the presiding officer noted the said manifestations and reminded the parties to refrain from further making any side remarks. The House Prosecution Panel manifested the request for subpoena for Mr. Lemuel G. Ortonio, the Chief of Staff of the Office of the Vice President, to which the presiding officer granted for next week. The presiding officer also reminded the parties to file with the court and give the opposing party the request for stipulation on facts and documents to expedite the proceedings before next week. The lead respondent's counsel, Attorney Sheila Sison, manifested to the court the improper social media post of counsel for House Prosecutor or House Panel of Prosecutor Attorney Amado Ligutan. The presiding officer took the manifestation under advisement. He also clarified that he has already ordered the clerk of court to monitor social media posts of both parties and disclosed that he had been observing a violation of one party more than the other party. The presiding officer already has a draft ruling on the matter and will render it on Monday, August 17, 2026. For the testimony of House Prosecution Panel's fourth witness, Sailin May Del Campo, before the start of the cross-examination, the counsel for the House Prosecution Panel, Attorney Lorna Kapunan, moved that the directive of the presiding officer of merely submitting the copies of marked documents and for comparison of the acknowledgement receipts before the clerk of court to be made to include the witness, Sailin Del Campo, to identify and authenticate the subject documents. The presiding officer overruled the motion as it is not anymore necessary in lieu of the submission of the copies of the respondent's marked documents last night. The counsel for the House Prosecution Panel, Attorney Lorna Kapunan, then confirmed that the tabulations and summaries identified by the witness has been marked after yesterday's hearing. Respondent's counsel, Attorney Christine R. Ferrer, conducted a cross-examination of COA ICFAO Auditor Sailin Del Campo. Afterwards, redirect examination and recross-examination were conducted by the same counsels for each party. Senator judges rigorously interpellated the witness. For the guidance of the media, the court's inquiries and manifestations were concentrated on 3 primary evidentiary themes. Theme number 1, the legal mechanics of restitution and the finality of disallowances. Senator Judge Erwin Tulfo and Senator Judge Joel Villanueva inquired into the practical effects and reversibility of an ND. They asked about the current status of the OVP's appeal, the specific process required to reverse a disallowance, the exact amount COA is demanding to be returned by both DepEd and the OVP, and whether any funds have actually been restituted. Senate President Sherwin Gatchalian and Senator Judge Kiko Pangilinan explored the scope of restitution. Senate President Gatchalian asked if the entirety of the 600 million pesos could be legally disallowed and ordered returned by the responsible officers. Senator Pangilinan questioned what happens to the specific 125 million if it was not fully obligated or utilized, and if the subsequent submission of additional documents would automatically cure a notice of suspension or disallowance. Senator Judge J.V. Ejercito highlighted the doctrine of strict documentary liability, asking if disbursements are disallowed purely due to incomplete paperwork, even if the funds were theoretically utilized for their proper purpose. Presiding Officer Chis Escudero clarified the precise administrative status of the audits. He inquired if a notice of final disallowance or NFD has actually been issued yet, and sought the technical distinction behind COA classifying the funds merely as unliquidated cash advances. Theme number 2, substantive verification of expenditures, safe houses, aliases, and receipts. Senator Judge Rafi Tulfo rigorously questioned the operational expenditure for safe houses, probing the daily rental costs relative to the duration of the use, whether these safe houses were situated in exclusive subdivisions, and how these amounts compare to the regular safe houses expenses of other government agencies. Senator Judge Risa Ontiveros and Senator Judge Kiko Pangilinan demanded clarity on documentary evidence. They questioned the total absence of official receipts or sales invoices for the purchases of food and medicines. Senator Ontiveros also asked for the specific documentation used to prove the success of confidential intelligence reports, while Senator Pangilinan questioned how COA can definitively ascertain if funds were used for personal gain when standard documents are missing. Senator Judge Bam Aquino focused on the verification of identities, asking how COA determines disallowances when unusual names or aliases are used, whether this practice violates any specific laws, and why these unusual names did not immediately raise red flags. Theme number 3, the chain of custody of SDOs, the vault inspections, and fraud audit triggers. Presiding Officer Chis Escudero and Senate President Sherwin Gatchalian zeroed in on the legal chain of custody. They drew a sharp distinction between a lawful disbursement and an unauthorized transfer. They questioned the legality and effect of official disbursing officers or SDOs like Fajardo and Acosta allegedly transferring massive funds to non-SDOs to Lieutenant Colonel Nolasco and Colonel La Chica. The presiding officer specifically challenged the documentary basis for the 2023 Notice of Disallowance, noting that the House transcripts only mentioned Acosta giving money to La Chica in 2022 and not 2023. Senator Judge Ping Lacson challenged COA's investigative rigor, citing specific provisions of the Joint Memorandum Circular 2015-01, specifically 4.15.2 and 4.15.3, and the 2020 Circular on Fraud Audits. He established that the ICFAO possesses the authority to physically inspect vaults and compare specimen signatures to authenticate documents. He questioned why the auditor did not exercise this authority to verify the signature in this case. Senator Judge Bam Aquino and Senator Judge Joel Villanueva inquired if the anomalies discovered were severe enough to trigger a formal fraud investigation by the COA, and asked the witness to define his technical understanding of what constitutes a fraudulent transaction versus an administrative lapse. Following rulings by the presiding officer Escudero on various evidentiary motions and objections by both parties, the trial was adjourned. Pursuant to the rules of procedure on impeachment trials, the impeachment court will resume session on Monday, August 17, 2026 at 10 o'clock in the morning. The agenda is a continuation of the presentation of the House Prosecution Panel's case-in-chief for Article 1, through direct examination of the witness, Ms. Marivic Pareja, Ms. Gina Acosta, SDO of OVP, and Mr. Edward Fajardo, SDO of DepEd for August 17, 18, and 19, 2026, respectively. I will now take questions, if any.
Attorney, pending dun sa draft ruling, so yung both sides are now not allowed na mag-post sa social media ng mga personal opinion nila?
Ang bawal po ay ang pag-post at pagko-comment ng ating mga counsels, parties, pati po ang private counsels at pati ng senator judges ng mga ukol po sa merito ng kaso. Kasama po dyan kung ito pong mga post na to ay nakakasira sa integridad at credibility po ng proseso ng impeachment. Kasama rin po dyan yung duty po ng bawat abogado na under the Code of Professional Responsibility and Accountability na hindi po dapat mag-trial by publicity at hindi rin po dapat siraan ang kapwa abogado, whether in the media po or sa outside of the
May
media.
violation sa impeachment rules yung ginagawa po ng yung
Malalaman po natin yung ruling ng presiding officer sa Lunes po, pero ang pinupunto po ni Attorney Sheila Sison kanina po, yung Respondents Lead Counsel, ay meron pong violation under Rule 18. Kasi po, ang tinutukoy niya po, yung nangyari kanina na sinaad nung counsel for the respondent na si Ms. Ferrer na hindi po na-allowed siya ng misleading questions even in cross-examination. At ang sinasabi pong posting ni Attorney Sison, ni Counsel for Prosecutor, Attorney Ligutan, ay about that same topic na about misleading questions po.
Kasama dun sa draft ruling, sir, yung mag-appoint na lang sila ng isang spokesperson.
Yung
Or
ruling
appeal lang
pong yun, hintayin po natin kung ano nakapaloob doon. Ang sinasabi lamang po ng presiding officer kanina na nakapagsabi na po siya sa bawat parties, nakapag-friendly reminder na po siya before na kung maaaring iwasan na yung mga spokesperson ay tatayo rin bilang counsel for prosecutors or House Panel of Prosecutors para hindi po sila pumasok sa Rule 18 ay pwede pong mag-divest na lamang po sila ng kanilang role, either spokesperson lang po sila or either counsel lang po sila. Kung counsel po sila, then they shouldn't try the case in public. So yun yung parang pinupunto po ni presiding officer kanina when he reminded the parties that he already gave the friendly reminder even before, and that a further violation such as what happened when Attorney Sison manifested kanina might be considered as within the scope of the violation of Rule 18.
So kung hindi makuha sa friendly reminder, pwedeng mag-issue ng gag order ang presiding officer, sir?
That is one of the options that he is considering in his ruling, but I cannot confirm yet if that is indeed the ruling of the presiding officer. I don't want to preempt his ruling for Monday. It can also be just another reminder.
Good afternoon, Attorney. What can be a very extreme penalty for such a violation?
Ang pinaka-extreme pong penalty sa aming mga abogado under the rules of court ay yung pagkakadetena. Dahil ikaw ay sasabihing direct or indirect contempt. Kapag ginawa mo ang pag-violate sa order o any rule ng korte sa labas ng proceedings ng korte, ito po ay indirect contempt. So kasama po sa mga penalties na pwedeng gawin ng isang hukom, una po, pwedeng i-reprimand, pagsabihan. Pangalawa, i-admonish po. Medyo mas mabigat sa reprimand. Pangatlo po, pwedeng pagbayarin ng fine. Pang-apat po, pwedeng i-revoke ang kanilang appearance. Lalong-lalo na po kapag ito po ay mga private prosecutors, House Prosecution, Counsel for the House Prosecution Panel. Dahil ito po ay delegated authority lamang at ito ay kailangan may approval ng korte. Panglima po, yung po yung pagdedeta na hanggat ikaw po ay sumunod doon sa order ng korte or within a specific time. So, doon po sa mga maaaring arsenal na pwedeng gamitin ng isang hukom, na I'm speaking generally po, hindi lamang po dito sa ating impeachment court, no? Available yan sa lahat ng mga judges. Yun po yung kanilang mga pwedeng gamitin. So, nagdedepende lamang po diyan gaano yung kabigat, yung ginawang paglabag nung tao na yon doon sa rules na yon, at ano yung imminent threat to the integrity and credibility of the proceedings of the court.
But even in the most extreme penalty, Attorney, pwede pa rin silang makabalik on appeal or when they promise, if they promise that they'd be in good behavior?
Sa Senate rules po on impeachment, wala pong appeal by the parties. So, it is only an appeal by the senator judges of the ruling of the court. So, if wala pong motion for reconsideration ng isang order ng isang hukom dito dahil wala namang pong appeal na papayagan po na umakyat sa mas mataas na korte dahil it's only the Senate who has the sole power to try and decide a case. Dagdag ko lamang po, aside from indirect contempt, no, para sa mga abogado po, pwede rin pong mag-refer po ang ating impeachment court ng disciplinary sanction sa Supreme Court para sa tanggal o pagka-suspend o pagka-fine o reprimand or any administrative sanction po, no, sa isang abogado po na hindi susunod sa proceedings ng korte. So that's another one of the possible na pwedeng gawin ng ating korte.
Attorney, naka-base sa Saan po yung penalties? Sorry, baka hindi ko lang na-catch. Sa rules of proceeding po ba ng...
Nakabase po yan sa rules of court.
po.
And saka sa mga jurisprudence ng ating Supreme Court.
Pero again, pagdating naman po sa senator judges, they can only police each other. Sila.
Pagdating po sa senator judges, nakapaloob lamang po yun sa Rule 18 ng ating Senate impeachment rules.
Okay po. And attorney, paano po ba masasabi kung yung pinost online netong councils ay nakakaapekto na sa merit ng proceeding or ng case? Or baka naman yung iba sinasabi, post ko lang naman to, wala namang binanggit na pangalan, wala namang specific subject na related sa impeachment ang kanilang nilabas.
Katulad ng nakita po ninyong ginawa ng Respondents Council kanina, na-anticipate niya na rin niya gagawin na ganyan, no? Na minsan magagaslight tayo parang mali ba yung interpretation ko, di ba? Hindi naman yan tungkol sa impeachment or wala namang meritong pinag-uusapan dyan So, that's how you argue it in court, just like how the Respondents Council argued it earlier, anticipating the counter argument of the person being referred to. So, inunahan niya na yung argumento na yon by saying na one, binasa niya sa transcript ng journal ng nangyari kanina, yung sagutan at reference sa specific word na yon na misleading. So, binasa nga yung oras, yung timing, yung consequence, at yung connection nung topic na yon doon sa pinag-uusapan sa korte. At yung sa kailan nangyari yon, kailan inilabas yon. So, timing kanina rin naman, at sinabi kanina ni Respondents Council, Attorney Sison, na first time lang na pag-usapan. First time lang nabanggit ang misleading sa retort ni Attorney Ferrer kasi pangalawang beses pa lamang natin nakita si Attorney Ferrer with this witness. So yun yung pinupunto kanina ni Respondents Council Sison so that she would be able to convince the court that the manifestation that she is giving to the court is actually referring to the actual violation of a fellow member of the bar, na nasa kabilang panig naman. So yun po yun. Ma'am Selly?
I really don't know if this falls under your purview. Yung sinasabi po kasi dun sa confidential funds, I really don't know if this should be discussed, but my interpretation of that is kapag yung mismong security guards ng Vice President would also benefit from the confidential funds, does that fall under double compensation and is that allowed in law?
Hindi ko po yan masasagot, kasi medyo malalim yung katanungan po ninyo. Medyo kailangan ng mas malalim na pag-iintindi ng batas at mag-citation tayo ng batas dyan, Of course, isa po yan sa mga iniisip ng ating mga senator judges kanina. Kaya natanong po nila yung pag-a-assign ng mga VPSG, at kung saan kinukuha yung pera ng VPSG. So, I think they're considering that thought as well, that argument as well. But as to what is the right answer to your question, hindi ko po kayo masasagot regarding that because it is open to also to a counter argument which I haven't still heard or I'm still waiting to hear as the proceeding of the trial will go. Apo.
Attorney, mga pag-side comment, may violation.
Opo, isa po 'yun sa mga as much as possible hindi pinapayagan sa korte. Lagi niyo po tatandaan, very formal po kaming lahat sa korte. Kaya kung makikita niyo po sa una pa lang, pagpasok pa lang, pare-pareho po yung sinasabi namin, 'di ba? Respectfully appearing for the prosecution, ganyan. Pare-pareho lang po 'yun. So meron po kami tinatawag na code of conduct within the court. At kapag kasama po sa aming canon of professional responsibility and accountability na lahat ng abogado ay nag-swear in po na dapat po you accord respect to a fellow lawyer. You do not call fellow lawyers names. medyo mahigpit po ang Supreme Court dyan. Alam niyo po, marami ng mga abogado ang mga na-suspend at na-disbar. On public record naman yan, pwede nyo naman i-search sa Google, no? So any kind of impropriety in the actions of a lawyer can be sanctioned by the Supreme Court. So kung mga side remarks na yan, it can be sanctioned by the judge of that court or the Supreme Court as well. Kung hindi pa rin po susunod ang isang abogado sa isang reminder o order ng isang hukom, aside from, katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, aside from the violation ng rules na kailangan sumunod ka sa orders, no, indirect contempt ka, ikaw rin ay pwedeng makasuhan administratively by the lawyer concerned na sinabihan mo ng masama, no, or by any party, or ire-refer po naman ng isang hukom yan sa Supreme Court for disciplinary sanction. So, yun po yung mga possibilities, no? I'm not saying na we are taking one track or this track. I'm just saying the possibilities that's available to the court and yung mga sanctions na pwedeng harapin ng isang abogado in general.
So, Attorney, on Monday, what do we expect?
We expect po yung testimonya ng ating mga witnesses na magpapatuloy po yung presentation ng House Prosecution Panel on Article 1, especially yung sa ukol po dun sa mga nangyari sa House of Representatives dahil si Ms. Marivic Pareha po at yung mga pagdi-disburse naman po at paghawak ng pera po, ukol naman yun sa mga testimonya ng mga Special Disbursing Officer na si Ms. Acosta at si Mr. Fajarda ng OVP at DepEd. So we're expecting that, and also as the presiding officer intimated earlier na ina-expect din natin na mag-rule siya on the manifestation of the respondent's lead counsel, Attorney Sison, and his motu proprio observation and of the behavior of the counsels in and outside of the court. One witness, one day rule, no? Oo. Mukhang kaya naman po if you look at kaya po nagdagdag sila ng isa pa pong witness, si Mr. Ortonio, para po 4 na po yung nakasalang next week. Dahil if we are going to relate the testimony of Ms. Marivic Pareha na siya po yung sa House of Representatives Legislative Office, no? Records Office. Ito po ang testimonya niya lamang ay ukol doon sa mga TSNs at records ng mga nangyaring committee hearing sa House of Representatives. At ito po yung same na mga records at fact na may nangyaring hearing na ganon na nag-take judicial notice din po ang ating impeachment court. So, as to the other matters outside of the judicial notice ng korte, hindi pa po natin alam kung ano pa yung ibang mga itetestify ni Ms. Pareha, pero dahil may judicial notice na napaikli na yon, hindi na as extensive yung testimonya niya dahil may judicial notice na nga doon, ukol doon. So, mas maikli po yun. So, baka sa Monday, 2 po ang witness na mailatag. Meron pa po? Hindi na po, no? Dahil po ang ginawa na po ng korte dyan ay nagsubmit na po pinagsasubmit na lamang po ng presiding officer ng kopya yung 2 parties at nagsubmit na po yung respondents counsel, and it is just the clerk of court who will reproduce it para tingnan po at bibigyan na rin ng kopya yung mga parties. Pero ukol po doon sa proposal for stipulations for the next few witnesses, pinapag-submit na po ng presiding officer yung both parties ng proposal nila for stipulation. Ng House Prosecution Panel, mag-submit na sa other party para kung meron ng pwedeng pagkasunduan even before Monday, mapagkasunduan na po ng both parties. Ima-manifest na lang nila. Wala na po. Tapos na po yun. Opo. Na-settle na po yun kanina.
Pero hindi pa rin ibig sabihin po na stipulate the test. You're just gonna, the clerk of court will just
Tama po. Kaya kanina merong pagtatalo doon sa AOM na piniresenta ng depensa kasi it's the same, technically it's the same AOM but in a different form, in a different document, print out, dahil hiwalay po yun. Kaya kanina nagtalo sila Attorney Kapunan, pero the presiding officer allowed the use of the separate documents by the parties.
Pero attorney, hindi na ba mag-object yung defense? Kasi sabi ni attorney Kapunan, may mga witness sila na walang personal knowledge doon sa mga allegations which is hindi na na-identify na sa immediate time. So, hindi na po ba yun?
Katulad ng sinabi po ng presiding officer, it is within the discretion of the defense to object. Kasama po yun, no, sa ating system of laws natin, sa proseso na yan. Ang lagi nyo tatandaan, ang pag-object po at ang pag-cross-examine ay ibinibigay po sa nasasakdal because of the presumption of innocence. It is not up to the defense to prove their defense. It is up for the prosecution to prove the case, and then the defense will have to destroy the case. So ganun po yung yung ating system of justice dito sa Pilipinas. Thank you po. Thank you po.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now World.